Okay, so we finished our firing, our bisque firing, and I want to show you this because one of the things I've got in the kiln at the moment is those test tiles for the for this new clay, or this new batch of clay, and so I wanted to give you an idea of how that turned out and show you what I mean by keeping track of the measurements. So let me get this opened up. I haven't opened it yet. All I've done so far is crack the lid, and I'm going to go ahead and open her up and we'll take a look. Alright, so we got the lid off, and let's see if we can get a shot here inside. Got a couple of pieces there. Let me get this out of here. So this kiln's probably still about 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So I've got gloves on. But since it's just a bisque kiln, I'm not really worried about it being too hot or causing any problems. Now if this was a glazed kiln, I'd wait till it was below about 50 degrees centigrade or 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So take a shot of this. There's a little test bowl that I made and some test tiles, and there are the test tiles for that clay. Let me grab a ruler real quick and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. So, remember how I said that that line started out at 10 centimeters? Well, when it was bone dry, I measured it, and it was at 9 centimeters. And it looks like it's right at 9 centimeters. Which means so far this clay has a shrinkage of 1%, which is pretty darn good. I'm pretty happy with that. So we'll go ahead and get the rest of this unloaded real quick, and then I'll show you what's there. Okay, so we got the kiln unloaded, and everything came out really well. I'm pretty happy with all of it. Mostly the load was stuff for a show that I've got coming up at the end of July. It's at a music festival, so it's going to be lots of what I call pub mugs, which are just larger tankards, and goblets. But there's a couple other things in there and I want to show you. These are the test tiles that I was talking about, and I had them scattered all through the kiln, just to kind of get an average of how it reacts in there. You'll notice that this clay is significantly redder than the stoneware clay that I use. I suspect that will change. This is just the clay by itself before I added the other clay that I had slaking into it. I suspect that will change. This will change some, but this indicates that there's a fairly large amount of iron in this clay, which makes me think that by itself this clay probably won't fire well past about cone 4, maybe cone 5. So I'm definitely going to have to take a look at that before I start running it up to higher temperatures to go with my normal stoneware. But like I said, I'm pretty happy about the amount of shrinkage that was involved. Yeah, the most shrinkage I got was 1% from wet to bisque fired, which is really good. And it bisqued well. Got a nice sound to it. So it'll mature right around cone 4, cone 5 really nicely. And these tiles will just go straight in with my next firing to just make sure of a temperature, and I won't do anything else to these. Other thing that I made, let me bring this down here real quick, is a couple of bowls and a couple of test tiles. Yeah. I don't know if you can see this or not. I got a little crack in the rim right there. And I got one on the other side. As I said, this clay wasn't the most plastic clay, or as plastic as it has been in the past. And I suspect that's the cause of that. That's why it does this as well. If it was more plastic, I should be able to bend that over and I wouldn't get it splitting right there. That's okay though. This will still work as a test tile. The reason I do these test tiles is to test how glazes react to this clay. Especially since it's a really iron-rich clay, I want to make sure that it doesn't cause problems with any of my other glazes that I normally use. And you're asking me, why did I do a bunch of little coil pegs? Well, the reason I do these is because these, I did more than I needed. Quick. So what I will do with these is, as I'm setting test tiles in the kiln, I will set a nice selection of these with the centers unsupported on the test tiles. The reason I do that is I want to make sure that this clay is not going to slump. If these end up deforming, then there's a couple of things I can do. I can add some fire clay to it. I can also add some grog to it, or just add alumina by itself. Most likely I will add fire clay and grog. Grog is simply this ground up really fine, and I've got enough bisque pieces that end up broken that I just make that up myself. The reason I'll use fire clay more than likely is here in Missouri we have lots of fire clay, and so it's a local product, and that's really important to me. A couple other things I made. Just made a trimming chuck, something I've been needing for a while and haven't had. And what you do with this is it's got two open sides and just hollow all the way through. So you'll set that. You'll take that, put it on your wheel head, and you'll center that up. And then what you can do is use it for trimming things like bottles and vases and jugs and things like that. Like I said, I've been needing one of these for a while. Also, I made a couple of these, and what these are for is, so say this was leather hard and I just got done trimming it. I'd take something like this and just put it in there and use it to round out the rim, make sure it's back into round. A couple of different sizes. You don't really want to use something that's that big on something that narrow. You can see there's a good bit of it sticking up that makes it real unsteady, and you could cause actual damage to that. So there's two different sizes. Also, it works out really well on handled mugs. After you put the handle on, sometimes your mug will be deformed, and it puts it back into round. Previously, I'd just been using an old vase that I had that I didn't particularly want for anything else. So these will work out quite nicely. It's got some mugs. They're all pretty close to the same size, slightly different shapes, slightly different handles. The reason for the slightly different handles is that's minor or moderately uncomfortable for me, but somebody with smaller hands would find that nice and comfortable. Flip side is something like that, which is actually slightly bigger than I need. But somebody with bigger hands would find that nice and comfortable. So I just do a variety of handle sizes and handle shapes because everybody's hands are different. See, now with me, that's just the perfect size right there. That's nice and comfortable. Alright, and the last thing I got is goblets. And or chalices. Some are just plain kind of everyday utilitarian sort of goblets, and some have a nice little chattered body to them. Gives it a nice feel. They're pretty much all roughly the same sort of shape and size, except for the chalice, which is obviously bigger. So, something I wanted to point out real quick. When I'm storing Bisque chalices, I always store them rim down. Most of my Bisque gets stored out here where I do most of my work. And I get a nice breeze, good wind coming through here. and I don't want to take the chance of a strong wind coming and knocking one down and it having it domino and take all of them. The other thing is it just minimizes the amount of dust and pollen and stuff and crap that gets in the inside. So store your goblets rim down. Alright, so that pretty much covers all of the Bisque stuff. Yeah, so I think that I'm going to have to do a glaze load here the next day or so. And maybe we'll do a glaze video. And yeah, and the other thing is I want to get these test tiles and stuff in, and so I can start using that clay. And we'll have part 2 or part 3? Part 2 of that coming up as well. So I just wanted to point out that I also have a lot of this stuff posted on Facebook at just look for us on Facebook at Laughing Moon Ceramics. So yeah, and I hope this maybe gives you guys some idea of how all this works with the clay. So thanks for watching.